Well, hello everybody, and in today's video, I'm gonna go over the last Wednesday's video. Can you see a theme developing on this channel? So in last Wednesday's video, it was good. I really enjoyed, not only did I enjoy making last week's video in terms of the hike and the company and the filming and the shooting of the images, I enjoyed editing it. And I was really happy. It was a very productive photo shoot. And I just wanted to talk a bit more about that and go over some of the stuff that perhaps I skipped in the video when on location, because often I'll do that if I'm distracted or if it's cold or I'm busy or whatever. So yeah, if you haven't seen the video, you definitely need to go and watch it. I'll put a link up here. I'll also put a link in the description below. So yeah, fantastic video, really happy with it. 4 images. So we've got this one. This could be my favourite. This one is my least favourite, and actually I said when shooting the images, I think I said that is the one I was least sure or least confident about. And then we've got this image, which is a surprise to me, but I really like it, and I'll talk about why it's a surprise to me afterwards. So let's start with there's a couple of things I missed. In the video, I didn't say where I was. And that's not because I want to keep any locations secret or because I think that it's sensitive. I am a big believer in not giving away locations. Not because for selfish reasons, but because lots of people may see one of my videos and then go there and shoot it. So if I'm in a little patch of woodland or a little area just close to a road, I'll never say where it is because I just want to protect the area. And I also think it's a bit disrespectful to local photographers who may have been shooting that area for a long time. But something like this, I've no issue saying where I was, because anybody who goes there, they have my full respect, and they deserve, you have to work to get there, put it that way. It's not just a short stroll from the car park. It's a proper epic hike. So the reason I didn't say where I was because I didn't want to mispronounce it. It's as simple as that. I thought, it's just safer not to say it because I get so much grief when I don't pronounce something properly. And quite often I make fun of that. But yeah, I don't know, I just thought I'll just wait till next week's video, which is this video. So the mountain that we climbed was Etive Beag. And that's kind of like a range, and Etive Beag is like a mass or a massif, maybe, I don't know. But Etive Beag comprises of 2 peaks, and the peak that you can see here, and the one that I was shooting my first image is Stob Du. Did I get that right? Stob Du, I think that's how you pronounce it. Now, we didn't hike to this peak. I wanted to, but we didn't have time. And it's one of those funny ones, you see. I was torn. I wanted Stob Du to be my subject. I wanted to shoot it. I wanted to get this pano. And I knew that that's what I wanted to photograph, having done my research online. But there is a fantastic shot, and actually from this drone footage, you can just see beyond Stob Du, and you can see that there's Loch Etive. And that is another fantastic vantage point. So if you're stood on the top of Stob Du, which is probably a further 15 minutes from where we were, it's not very far, then you get this completely different viewpoint. And I really wanted the viewpoint with Loch Etive, but I also wanted this because this was closer, and you get here first, you get to this area before you get up to Stob Du. I thought, you know what, we haven't got time to do both. Which brings me on to my next, my next topic. And that is that when you get conditions like these blue sky days, they are my favourite. They are my favourite when it comes to snowy mountain scenes. And that's because you get that pre-sunrise kind of colour palette. Those purples, those pinks, those magentas, those blues. And from the 30 minutes from kind of dawn breaking up until the sun rising, those are glorious because the snow is so bright and it's reflecting the brightening sky. You get a very, very evenly balanced landscape. You know, there are no deep dark shadows, so it's easy to make those exposures, and the colours complement each other so well because the blue sky is reflecting off the white snow, so your shadows are blue, and then the areas that are facing towards the rising sun, they're usually warmer and more white, but then you get the sky and you get this, is it Earth shadow or something, the band of something or other, the band of Venus, I'm not sure. You get that, it's just fantastic. But here's the problem. As soon as that sun starts to break the horizon and come up, you know, then you're really up against it. So you have to get the images within, I would say, 15 minutes of the sun rising, because as soon as it gets too high in the sky, then your shadows become too deep, your highlights are too bright, and it's impossible to manage. Now you can shoot black and white high contrast shots, and that's, you know, in fact I think I'd do that in a future video, but for me I didn't want to do that on this scene, on this location. I was all about the hues and the soft painterly colour palette. This is another great example. Look at the gradation from orange to pink, and that's I love this image because of the gradient in the sky. You can tell that the sun is rising just off camera here, so you get the orange, but over here further to the west you've still got the pinks, purples, blues and magentas, and I managed to capture the transition from orange to magenta with the beautiful mountains and the mist-filled valleys and just a kiss of the first morning light hitting that mountain. Oh, it was so good. And yeah, that's why I exposed for the highlights. Totally underexposing all of this, but I knew I could lift that without any problems. So yeah, that's, you know, now it's good. Now at this period, it's a great time for shooting. This image, the sun has now risen, but there is a bit of atmosphere up in the sky. There's a thin haze, which is why we're getting this magenta purple light. Now the reason I said that I wasn't sure about this image is there's no real focal point. Like, it's nice and it looks okay, but the sort of lower third of the image I don't like, and you've got this kind of this rocky, craggy area to the left third here, and I find that a distraction. However, if that rocky, craggy area continued all the way across the bottom, then that would work so much better because you would have those layers in texture and shade and colour. But sadly it's just here, and I love the light and I love the shadows and I love the colour, and that's why I was happy to keep it in the video. I certainly don't think it's a bad image, but it's definitely the weakest of the three, and it doesn't really offer much. You know, the bottom half of the image, if you like, the bottom 50%, there's not much going on apart from a big craggy area that is, quite frankly, a bit distracting. Now we move on to this image. I said that this was the most surprising image, and that's because if you watch the video, you'll see that I was talking to the camera and then I got distracted because I said I spotted another composition. This is the composition I spotted. I didn't really spot this. I knew it was there because this image is essentially this image, but it's a wider version, a pano version. So I knew it was there, but the way the light changed, I think initially the light was just hitting these mountains to the left of center and it looked unbalanced, but then the light started to catch these mountains in the background just over here, and that rebalanced the whole scene, and I instantly thought, okay, well there is a pano. And I thought when I saw this and I was setting my camera up, oh, nah, I'm too late, you know, that sun is now too high in the sky. But actually I was wrong. The sun was high in the sky, it was too bright, but I reckon I was right on the cusp. Right on the cusp. Another 5 minutes, these shadows all here would have been too deep and the highlights too bright to manage. But actually, it's kind of, the sun was in such a good position, if you like. You know, the lighting was at that point whereby it's not a kind of cliche sunrise shot, if you like. It's more of an early morning shot, and it has a certain coolness to it, a crispness to it, a cleanliness to it. You know, an image like this I could see in the wall of a bathroom. It's quite subdued, it's not in your face, it doesn't shout at you, it's very subtle. You know, it whispers rather than shouts, and I think that's why I like it. And when you look at this image, you start to notice little things. So the first thing I noticed when I sort of edited this image was the light on the foreground, and then how it transitions into shade. And where it transitions into shade, you have beautiful wind-swept snow patterns. As the wind's sort of blowing up the mountain and up the hill, you get these beautiful textures and patterns. Yet on the other side, which is the east-facing side, is smooth. And that's because the prevailing winds come from the west. So you get all of the texture and all of the patterns will be on the west-facing slope. As the wind blows the snow goes up and settles on the eastern side. So any kind of Scottish man, I bet old Murray from Scotland's mountains would tell you this. He'd be able to look at this picture and he'd be able to say in an instant whether it was sunrise or sunset, because you get prevailing winds from the west, which tell you, that's all. And little details like that. I know I'm waffling on a bit, but yeah, essentially I love the detail of the textured snow in the west-facing side of this mountain ridge. Another thing that I really like about this image is how the light on the right-hand side here balances well with the light on the left-hand side at the top. So you get this kind of nice harmony between the two. If the light was here on the bottom left-hand side of the image, I feel it would be too lopsided. Now we have a prominent peak in the centre, and then we have this peak on the right, which is the Buchel Etivmore, famous peak. This is the back side of it, by the way. Not many people see it from this angle. Now I was worried at first that this would be too heavy. It would start tipping the image over to the right, too heavy on the right hand side. But because of this deep area of shadow on the left side and this craggy face, and the addition of more of the light being on the top left side, I feel that it's all more balanced and more harmonised. So yeah, the more I look at this image, the more I like it. And for me, it's one that probably has longevity because of its quiet nature. But it was a fantastic hike. It took us a couple of hours to get up to where we were shooting from, but it was totally worth it. It's a beautiful day, lovely and calm, crisp, cold. There was hardly any wind. And I mentioned in my last video that Nev, the guy I was with, who I bumped into in the car park the day before, and he was up for coming up with me, he broke his back in July. Broke his back in a skydiving accident. And he's managed to rehabilitate himself, and now he's climbing mountains just like this. And he did quite well. I think he set off too fast, and we got to about the halfway point and he was struggling. But I think that really does go to show that, a lot of people would see shots like this and see the hike that we did and think that they couldn't do it. And, oh no, out of my comfort zone. I'm not fit enough. But you'd be surprised. You don't need to be that fit to go hiking. You just go a bit slower, take it a bit easier. I think it's very much more, you need mental strength than you do physical strength. It's not like sprinting, it's more of an endurance, more of a long walk. So if you're unsure about hiking in the mountains and going to places that are a bit further away, then I would definitely encourage you to give it a try. Maybe join a group, a hiking club or a mountaineering club or a rambling association or something like that, just to give it a try. Because if Nev broke his back in July and was hospitalised, and 6-7 months later is doing this, then yeah, it goes to show what can be done. So I really would hope that video would, and me spieling on now, would encourage you to give it a go. If one good thing can come from last video and this video, is that someone out there decides that they are gonna go somewhere a bit further than what they normally would. So there you go. That's all I wanted to do for this video. Just go over a couple of my images and just chat about the walk and the hike. Join me next time for more Scottish adventures and some freezing cold camper van stuff. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Lots more to come. Lots more to come. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go and have my tea that my wife has lovingly prepared. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.